welcome to the gathering. We are so
different with a Sunday afternoon gathering. Thank you for being in attendance. Our prayer is that this is about 45 minutes long, that when it is completed, we'll go over to these circle tables over here. Make sure you grab some cake. Make sure you grab some coffee or water and join us for a little bit more discussion. We'll kind of break that down as we go throughout the day. But our gathering today is really focused on missions, and you're going to hear more about that shortly. But again, I'm grateful you're here. It's always important to start meetings off with prayer. So let's begin with a word of prayer, shall we? Let's pray. Well, holy and loving God, it is good to be here. Many of us are seeing each other for the second time today, and that's good news. And so be with our conversation, be with our reflections, be with our hopes of what's to come and our looking back at the past. But you've got great stuff in store for us here at MDUMC. And we are so excited about how you are moving. And so open our hearts and minds to the information and stories that we're going to hear today, and might it move us with excitement and joy for what you're doing here in West Houston and beyond. All this we ask in Jesus' precious and holy name. Amen. Amen. We're going to invite up our first speaker who's going to go over our agenda for today. Her name is Kristen Kozel, and she is our chair of our trustees. And so will you give her a warm MDUMC welcome today?
Welcome, everybody. We're so excited that you guys came back to join us today. If this is your second time here, if your first time, welcome as well. We're really excited to start the first gathering this year with a focus on missions. So we're going to start first with a committee report from Sean Kennedy, and then we're going to go into some time with Pastor Brad talking about just some more mission stories, some reports from him, and then get into some additional stories about missions from Kelly Williams, Deanna McElroy, Maribel Wilson, and Mark Bogart. And then we'll wrap up our time here with Dr. Morgan coming back up, giving a few more thoughts for us, and then we'll break out into those tables to have some discussion and cake and coffee. So thank you again for coming, and we'll go ahead and get started with Sean.
Good afternoon. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the business of the church, and then it's going to be quick because we really do want to concentrate on missions today. First of all, there's some things that we started tracking, and we believe it's very important to get as much information out as possible that kind of gives the membership an idea of the direction of the church. So the first thing that I want to talk about is attendance. In January of this year, attendance was up in both the Journey and the Classic service. We're still down against the 5-year average, but the 5-year average does include 2020 and 2021, but 18 and 19 were really, really great years for the church. So but what we'd like to see right now is we're on a very good trend with attendance in both services. And then some really great news. We've got a lot of new members, but one of the biggest things that we had is we had 15 new baptisms between the Journey and Classic. We also had 2 baptisms in the Refuge, which is a first. We have 12 new families join. 8 of those folks were transfers from other United Methodist churches, and then 7 of them were from other denominations. We also had 9 new professions of faith in the month of January. So again, we are growing. In January of 23, the generosity was up over 2024 or 2022 by little over 2%. And it was above the 5-year average by almost 2%. Again, our goal this year is to keep our budget where our expenditures were where our giving was last year, and we're a little bit above that, but we had some one-time occurrences in January, like insurance and some other things that happen one time a year. So we did take those expenses. So we were a little bit higher at about 4%. So again, we're keeping an eye on it. We're sharing the information with you, and that's the main thing. But like Kristen said, we're concentrating on missions today. If you have any questions, my office is always open. Just give me a call and we'll set up a time. All right? And next is, I missed it, Brad.
Thank you, Sean. We are truly excited about some of the transparency and openness, also the simplicity of some of the reports that you helped generate that really make it clear what's going on so that everyone can see. Thank you so much for all your great work on that. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Friends, it is a great joy for me to be here with you today and to get to share a little bit about missions. This morning on the main campus, I was blessed to host Superintendent Kariuki, and Pastor Joe Kariuki serves the United Methodist Church in Kenya as a district superintendent. And you may remember me telling stories of going to a little church up in the mountains that I helped consecrate as they had their first Sunday officially as a church, and it was Pastor Joe who drove me through the wilderness of Kenya to get me way up to that place at 9,500 feet. And let me tell you, when you're going to preach at 9,500 feet, you don't know, is it like being in Denver? Actually, it's up from Denver, right? And so I had to kind of think through that, but it was wonderful and what a blessing. So what a joy to get to host him today. But I want you to know that one of the things I was most excited about when we're understanding that I'd be appointed here to MDUMC was to hear about your global missions. In fact, even before I was ever on the board for a church like this, I knew about your global mission. I had actually been able to go over once to Nairobi and to Maua and see the hospital there, and Scott Brown was on that trip. And he shared with me about the partnership and the way that this church partners with people for a long duration to build lifelong, faith-forming relationships. And so as we look at these different projects, some you're going to hear about stories from that are domestic, some are global. All of them build faith. They build faith through long-term mission relationships that allow people, by the giving of themselves and the sacrifice of their efforts and the establishing of relationships in the name of Jesus, they are able to be faith builders. In fact, Pastor Joe shared a story. There was a little device that the Roots Sunday School class helped him buy just a little bit ago. And before he came over to the States, he's over here until March 6th, but before he came over, he had a woman show up to church on Sunday morning who gave him a bottle of pills. And he looked at her on Sunday morning there in his church in Gilgil and looked back at her and said, "Ma'am, do you know those pills can kill you?" And she said, "I almost took my life with these pills, but I heard your radio program and the hope in Jesus, and I had to come find out if it was real. And now I give them back to you so I don't take them myself." I mean, when I say what you do saves lives, and the way you build relationships with people and you further the cause of the gospel that goes out into the world, I want you to know you really are saving lives. And in each one of these ministries, right, that's one story out of tens of thousands of ways that you make a difference in the world. We are so very blessed by the ways that you go out in service and reach out, and that you are faith builders in our community and world. So it's with great joy that I turn it over to Kelly Williams, who is on a slight family vacation this weekend for important things that she needed to be at. And so she has a little video that will introduce you, and then the next speaker, Dina McElroy, and then Maribel Wilson, and then Mark Bogart will all come up in turn. Thanks.
Of Mission and Outreach Activities here at Memorial Drive United Methodist Church. Welcome to the gathering. We are so glad you are here. This afternoon, we would like to share some information regarding the ways MDUMC is fulfilling the call to serve others. We work in partnership with local and international ministries and organizations to care for individuals and families in need. Through prayer, volunteer involvement, and financial support, we help create opportunities to show people God's love. This involvement takes many forms and can be seen in various ways of involvement. In 2022, our outreach efforts can be summarized in 4 main areas. First, food share. Every week, we pack meals that are distributed to several organizations, including churches in downtown Houston, local schools, and other organizations in need, like Neighbors in Action, Star of Hope, among others. During Thanksgiving last year, we contributed 350 meals to the East Spring Branch Food Pantry for distribution to our community. Second, support to local schools. Many schools here in our district have children and families in need of adult mentors, hygiene supplies, Christmas toys, and more. MDUMC has provided support in all of these ways, including recognizing teachers and staff during Christmas and Teacher Appreciation Week. Also, through Memorial Assistance Ministries, MDUMC was the #1 donor for school uniforms in August last year. Third, grant funds. $70,000 was awarded in 2022 to 11 organizations for their incredible work supporting our community. Grant recipients included 3A Bereavement, FAM Houston, Mikey's Place, Bridges to Life, the Wesley Community Center, and Saluti Paz in Guatemala. Fourth, MDUMC has long-term strategic relationships with other partners both locally and abroad. For example, we provide funding and volunteers to Memorial Assistance Ministries, FAM Houston, House of Amos, and Family Point Resources. Internationally, we support the Mawa Hospital in Kenya and local schools and churches in the Hampstead area of Jamaica, and Hope Haven Children's Shelter in San Pedro, Belize. This afternoon, you will hear a short testimony from a few MDUMC members who have touching stories to share about the way they have been called to serve and how their relationships during their mission activities have deepened their relationship with Christ. Then we will end with an invitation to participate in one of the outreach or mission activities happening this year at Memorial Drive. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dina. For y'all who don't know me, I joined the church back in 1992 and went on my first international mission trip in 2001, 10 days after 9/11. We left to go to Costa Rica. 2 years in Costa Rica, then 2 years in El Salvador, and then we were able to go 8 years to Guatemala. When I tell you, when you decide to go on a mission trip, you think you're going to help them. You think you're going to change their lives. They are going to change yours. The first year we were in Guatemala, we were about 35 of us, half construction and half a dental team. And most of y'all know I'm a nurse, but I was on the construction side. And the dentists were out, but they had also had this cavity fighting ointment that you could put on the teeth that would help prevent cavities. And so we were up at an orphanage, and me and my friend Wanda, we decided to walk down to the school. There was an elementary school probably a mile and a half down the road, and say, look, can we come to your school on Friday and paint these kids' teeth? We have toothbrushes to give them, and we want to come and help. That started a 8-year run with that school. Not only did the teachers get participation, they would help the kids to, even if they dry brushed, even if they did not have toothpaste. It was amazing because we started with the little ones, and by the time we left, they were in 6th and 7th grade. The difference in their teeth was just amazing. and they weren't scared. They would get excited to come. Adults would come. Everybody would come to the school. We were able to even further that more. We were able to build a room down there. And if any of y'all remember Jim Harvey, that room was dedicated to him with a big ceremony with palm trees and everything. So you can imagine how that changed our lives. When those kids see you, and I don't speak Spanish, it doesn't take anybody to speak Spanish to go. I am a construction girl when I'm down there. I can mix cement, I can bend rebarb, I can paint teeth. My husband can paint nails. Oh my God, they love their nails being painted. And they would run and go take it off to come back and get their nails painted. But the best thing was we took a Polaroid cameras. And so we would take pictures. They had never seen pictures of themselves. And so the first time we held VBS, now remember, there's no phones, no clocks, no nothing. We had 600 kids show up for VBS. Oh, we were little. And then they wanted more pictures. But they got so excited to have those pictures, and it changed me, my life. It changed my husband's. If you've not been on a mission trip and you want to go, it's a great opportunity. There's great mission trips going on. Please ask, please get involved. You know, I always tell people if you don't ask somebody to go, they'll never go. So, if you've been on a mission trip, please reach out to people and say, hey, we need you. We need you to do this. Thank you.
So Dina, the pictures resonated with me too. We took pictures of the kids, but then we added in Snapchat filters, and that really blew everyone's mind. Things got crazy then. So hi everyone, I'm Maribel Wilson, and for those who don't know me, probably a lot of you, my family and I moved to Houston in June of 2021, and we started attending here at MDUMC in July. It's a homecoming for me because I grew up in Clear Lake, but we've been certainly happy. We stopped at one church and never looked again to any other church, so we've loved it here. So I'm grateful to be able to talk to you about the Kenya mission trip. I went with my daughter last June on this wonderful mission, and I could talk about it for probably a couple hours, but since I only got 5 minutes, I wanted to kind of touch on two things. One is about the importance of the work that we saw that this church has done over a long-standing history, and then a little bit about how it personally impacted me. You heard Pastor Brad discuss earlier about our partnership and the impact. So as soon as we got there, we saw not only the impact of what the financial work that the church has done, but there's personal relationships with people over there. They know you, they remember you, and they love this church even though they don't know each one of you. And so even when we saw what's been done over the history at the Methodist Church, at the orphanage, everywhere we went, we could see the fingerprint of this church there. And it's really amazing what y'all have done. And then we got to see Lakauthi Primary School. This is the first time that we've actually started a partnership with them. And these kids are amazing kids, and they really need us. We arrived there, and you go into the classrooms and you think, you know, we need to bring them pencils and paper. And you look on the walls of their classes, and they have the same curriculum as our kids. They study the exact same thing. But what they really needed from us was they have to walk to a stream that barely has any water to get water. So just think about what these kids can do if they just have access to water and food. And I'm just blessed to be there for the first meeting with this school, and I know that this church will continue to do the same thing for this school that they've done for the hospital and the orphanage and all the other communities that they've touched. So I was really, really thankful for that. And then if I think about, on a personal level, what this did for me, I know you guys probably, every day you think about all the million things that you have to do, but going on a mission trip like this, you have no choice but to let go and turn your faith over to God. I'll give you an example, but literally every day you hear God, whether it's in breakfast conversation with your fellow missioners or from the Kenyans, who are more likely to teach you about scripture and how to worship than anybody else. But we were given a screen job just to change mosquito screens, which for Kenya, that's important for health and safety. And they hadn't been done for the staff in many years. And you get there and you don't have the tools to do the job. And we got there and we spent an entire day, didn't get one screen changed, and you sit there and you say, this is the big job we're supposed to do, and how are we going to get it done? All you can do is turn your faith to God. And somehow, the next day, we figured out how to do one screen. It took us all day to do one screen. And then the next day, just building on each other and figuring out how to make things work together, we got every single one of those screens, when the first day I thought, there's no way we're going to get this done. And there's only one way to do that, and that was to turn your faith over to God. So, hopefully this just gives you a little bit of a taste of what it means to you personally and what this church means just globally. And if you guys feel anything at all, any feeling for outreach to a mission, I strongly suggest you just ask the question, because it's something that you will probably want to do again. So thanks so much.
Good. Now, let's just, before I even start, thank you, Michael. The number of times in my life that I've had the privilege of raising a microphone when I got to a lectern, podium, etc. You can probably tell, many of you know me. My name is Mark Bogart. I'm the director of youth ministry here at Memorial Drive. I am not unfamiliar with a live microphone, but it is exceedingly rare for me to get to raise one to talk about it. And tonight is no different. So I'm deeply thankful for your presence here. Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm wiped out. We had a really long and wonderful event with our students this entire weekend on fumes. But let me tell you, regardless and despite that fact, what I'm going to tell you about and talk to you about is incredibly life-giving for me. And I know that it is for the constituency and the congregation of our church, for our students and families. So let's be real honest. Students, I think, very much like the rest of us, sometimes find it a little challenging to connect the beauty of gospel lessons and the teachings of Jesus Christ to practical, everyday, live it out, actionable, what it means to fully embody the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's why when we invite students to this space, we tell them about its life-giving nature, and when we ask them to share what are the things in your life, the practical, applicable ways that you find God in your life, that you connect your faith in the teachings, that you connect your faith to the everyday life that you live. It is overwhelmingly popular that we hear, like doing stuff for others. Great. It's exactly right. It's so many of our students, and I'm sure that you're the same, so many of our students, they share that the way that they connect the reality of living out their faith, what it means to know Jesus, to a practical, actionable behavior is by serving others. Now, in our student ministry, we have all sorts of different service and mission ops. We have different names for them. We've got certain acronyms, and we've done stuff all over the map. We have a pretty good habit of going downtown. If you're right there at Chartres and 59, kind of by Minute Maid Park, there is a large collection of folks that don't have homes, that kind of live and stay around those spaces. We've done everything from when it is 150 degrees outside, we will take frozen bottles of water. Now, I'm sure you think that sounds like a cruel trick. Well, it isn't, because eventually and very quickly that water, that ice melts and becomes an ice-cold drink. We do what we call unbirthday boxes. Now, let's be real honest. We don't know the birthday of each person that's down there. But we know that each person that's down there has a birthday. So we take cookies and cake and milk and literally celebrate people's birthdays down there. Now, we've had some occurrences in the past where they're like, how did you know it was my birthday? And we're like, we're that good. We prayed about it. But also, like, mine was yesterday, and like, my birthday's not till June. You know, like, we hear these things like, yes, sir, we realize we are not here to celebrate just your birthday, but glory be to God. So we do, because all of this, y'all, all of this is about the restoration of dignity. Is it so often when we talk to our homeless friends, our neighbors, we ask them, what is the thing that is potentially the most painful, the most hurtful? You know what it is? It isn't being lied to. It isn't, I'm sorry, I don't have any change. It isn't that. They specifically say it's not being lied to. What they say is when people look right through me. And they pretend that I don't exist. So hopefully part of what we're doing with our students is instilling the beauty of what it means to restore dignity in people by celebrating their birthday when it's 364 days from their birthday. Another way that we do that has been and remains to be a cornerstone of our student ministry is work camp. I have been on every single one since 1998, with the exception of 2003. I was in Cinque Terre, Italy at the time, and I was with some folks that were dear friends of mine that grew up at Memorial Drive. They were on summer staff with me. And we were in what can only be described as the most beautiful place that I've ever been, without a doubt. If you've been to Cinque Terre, you know what I'm talking about. It's like all the Tuscany movies that you see. I see some nodding. Thank you, Linda. It's indescribably beautiful, despite my best efforts. And we are in this place, and we know that high school work camp is leaving that Sunday, and we wake up in this little bungalow overlooking the Mediterranean, and we're like, man, wish I was going to Cameron, Texas in a bus today. And then we went into town and got like 11 scoops of gelato and got over it pretty quickly. I'll be honest. But to me, that is a true testament, not to the leadership of our student ministry necessarily, but for what it means to go and to serve, that this is a thing that an experience that we value so much, that we go, at least for a brief period, we'd rather be in Cameron, Texas than Italy. Thank you again. Sweet Linda. I'm sorry I called you out like that. I'm so sorry I called you out like that, but that was outstanding. So I think we've got a little vidya. Do we have a little video? Yeah, thanks, Amina. Take a look at this, and then I'll be out of your hair. It is not. This is not it. I could go through and tell you about each and every person and each and every project and each and every shingle. The roofing was safe. We did have a professional roofer up there with us, so just so you know that. And that's a drop in the bucket to the experiences that our students in many ways help lead the way in. And so one last little thing I'm so fond of, and I very often remind our students, and I ask them even, like, what is it that you enjoy so much about serving others? And they, of course, they say, I think unsurprisingly, they say, well, just really makes me feel good about myself. And I say, yeah, that's great, and we honor that. But then I challenge them to kind of take one other evolution of thought into that and to ask them, like, why is it that it feels so good? And of course, they acknowledge, well, because you're helping somebody else out in need. Yeah, great. Exactly right. And then we introduce one other notion to them and say, a lot of that feeling, of it feeling really good, is that it feels right. And what I mean by that is, as a square peg fits into a square hole, we are living fully into what it is that God calls us to do, and the men and women that God calls us to be. That's a lot of the reason that it feels so good, is because it feels so right to do this. That I've spent a lot of time out there working alongside some of you and serving others, and I'll be honest, even if I'm tired, I'm not sure I've regretted a single minute of it. Even if I didn't want to do it, I don't look back and regret it. We're living into this deep and purposeful calling that God has placed on each of our hearts. And so often we view like the world's challenges as insurmountable. We assume these enormous problems, and there are some big ones. And students often mention that they feel so unapproachable, they don't know where to start. So what we encourage them to do is start with one. See a hungry person? Feed that person a sandwich. See a person in need of encouragement? Encourage them. And I tend to sound like a broken record when I say this, because I think I say it all the time with our students, that in no uncertain terms, I believe that this work literally changes the trajectory of people's lives. It changes the trajectory of people's lives in the name and love of Jesus Christ. And I believe that our mission, particularly with students, is to simply plant those seeds. That if the idea of serving and honoring and giving, like the resources that students have, it's their time, it's their effort, it's the notion of what it means to sacrifice. That our mission as leaders in this church, not just our student ministry staff, but all of you as well, is to nurture that, to plant those seeds and to water them and to nurture the soil and to watch it grow, because that is a privilege. And our students feel that, and it resonates with them. Thanks.
Living, giving, and serving represent our core practices of transformation at Memorial Drive. So I ask you, how are you serving? During this year, I would encourage you to pray and reflect on the ways in which you will choose to serve. From participating in our upcoming One Great Day of Service, to packing weekly meals, participating with a mission team, giving your time to mentor a child in need of a stable presence in their lives, connecting with an immigrant family at FAM Houston. These are a few examples of activities I would like to invite you to consider participating in. Our annual Day of Serving, One Great Day of Serving, or OGDOS, is coming up on Saturday, March 25th. We invite you to go online, pick a project to participate in, and join our congregation in demonstrating God's love through acts of service in our community. We have projects and activities appropriate for all ages and abilities. Help build bunk beds for children. Sort food at the Houston Food Bank. Bake cookies from home for first responders, or help serve a drive-through meal to our community. If you have young children, we have the opportunity to pack various meals and bags to donate to Texas Children's Hospital, Blessings in a Backpack, or Mission of Yahweh. These are only a few projects to choose from during our day of service. Head to MDUMC/missions or scan the QR code on your handout to sign up. Remember, our day of service is a great opportunity to invite neighbors, friends, or families to come alongside you in ministry here at Memorial Drive. I hope to see you there.
All right, Mark, I'm not saying anything. Just moving a mic so I can do that. Well, friends, today Pastor Karaoke, who was there with us, it's hard to tell what he was most impressed by. He was impressed by the worship. He was impressed by the warmth of everyone. He was impressed by the love. But what seemed to really catch his attention at the end was he said, it seems like there's a lot going on here. And so I walked him over to one of those screens that we have that's a touch screen and you can scroll up and down. And he looked at that with a great amazement and he said, all that is going on Sunday? And I said, yes, but look at Monday. And he almost fell over. I was kind of mindful of a day a few months ago when I was here on campus and I went over to the refuge because there were things going on at the refuge and checking in on our super place camp and what was happening there. I came over and there were things in the art center. In this room, there was a team over there making relief kits and things. And I went over, all the way over to the adult ministry. Of course, there's always stuff at TJ Maxx, but I went to the adult ministry center over there. And there in that place was a group that has met. It's the other gathering, if you will. They were the gathering before the gathering was this, right? And it's made possible. The gathering place is a free opportunity for family caregivers to receive respite, a break from caregiving responsibilities while their loved ones participate in activities such as games, music, arts, crafts, lunch, and socialization in a safe environment. It's held in partnership with congregations and a great part of Care Partners Ministry. MDUMC has been a proud partner for 30 years. We are especially grateful for the Rawls and their daughter Betsy Snap, who have championed this work year after year, and we now have numerous volunteers who are faithfully part of that. We are so grateful for the work of this ministry, and I just want to share that with you because it's one of many ministries. All those things happen out. So missions is overseas. It's right here. It's every day, us providing a place for families to deepen their faith and have their faith built as they follow Jesus. So we want you to get involved in something. And I know Kelly mentioned Ogdos. What day is that? That's March. Oh, y'all have heard of it. Great. It's Saturday, March 25th. And we will count for you your participation in it if you do something beforehand. Because I know some of you are saying, oh, Pastor Brad, I got something to do that day. But do you have something to do every day between now and then? Can you do one little thing? Can you get a friend to do something? We can make it a difference. Last year we had just over 1,000 people participate in it, and we hope to do so again. Well, friends, as we come to the end of this presentation, I've got one other thing to share. I do want to recognize someone who's here, who has served with us for 18 years. We celebrated her this morning in Friendship Court, but Vicki Harris has 10 days left, is that? Yeah, she told me 2 days left. She's counting down. Congratulations on the occasion of your retirement. We are so truly grateful for all of your years of service to this great church and for the ways you've enriched lives through your ministry in this place. Thank you so much. And do I see Linda Jenkins here? I didn't think I saw her earlier. You may know she transitioned and was able to be a beneficiary of a grant that let her work with Amazing Place to do work of taking the kind of parish nurse concept that she worked here to a broader level, to be a server of programs that are going to get started at several churches. And so we do have a health council that will be meeting, I believe, tomorrow night on that topic to begin that work. But there are numerous other things going on in the life of the church, but I'll save those for the table conversations. I want you to know, though, our primary focus is on mission and getting every member involved in mission, being faith builders, primarily because it's one of those unifying themes in our DNA that brings people together. And there's something about following Jesus you can't learn from not doing it. So what I mean is that there's some things that you don't learn how to do them until you're actually out in those places where you have to depend on God to be able to do what you're doing. And I thought that was so well said in the presentations. So we're thankful for you being here this evening. I'm going to call up Kristen Kozel to give our overview, and then we'll have our closing benediction.
I hope you guys are feeling really inspired from that gathering. I know for one, when I hear stories like we heard today, I'm just so proud to be a member of Memorial Drive, and I hope you are too. There's so many ways you can get involved. On the back of your program, you can see some dates coming up, going to Belize and Jamaica. I have heard from so many people that, not only is there something new to do at every place, you make lifelong friends, but it changes your relationship with God. And so I loved what Dina said about reaching out if you've been on a mission and sharing that with somebody, but I also challenge you, if you haven't been on one, to reach out and ask about a mission trip. Any question you might have, whether you are just starting to question if you want to go or if you know you want to go, if it's a few years down the road from you, just be curious and ask questions. There's also great ways to serve here in our community. We are called as a church to do that, and one great day of service is a great way to do that. So March 25th, as everyone has said, there is a way for everyone in your family to participate, from our youngest members to our more experienced members in life. There's ways to participate from home, here on campus, or out in the community. So definitely go to our website, mdumc.org/Agdos, and check out ways that you guys can sign up individually or as a group. Also, just a few reminders, these are in your bulletin as well, but throughout Lent, there is a lot going on for you to be involved in the life of the church. Our sermon series right now is going through the Gospel of Matthew, and then we also have the Lenten devotional that you guys can pick up. We also have some really exciting events coming up as we get closer to Easter, so mark your calendars. We have the Easter extravaganza, Holy Week worship, Stations of the Cross, and so much more. So you can find out more about that also on the website at mdumc.org/Lent. And then you may have not had a chance to really look through here just because everyone did such a great job speaking today, but up here at the top you'll see we had 33 new members so far this year in our church and 20 baptisms, which was amazing. So I know I am the one keeping you from cake. So thank you again for coming, and we hope you join us at the table to talk more about any questions that you guys may have about missions and outreach.
Friends, we're going to close with the benediction. So I want to invite all the clergy to come forward at this time. Just a few instructions. There are 7 tables all scattered throughout that space. If you're planning on staying, if you have to go, we understand. But there are 7 tables. And at those 7 tables will be 7 different leaders who will help start the conversation. And you're welcome to ask us anything that's on your heart from today or anything that you want to speak on specifically. We'll be spread out those tables. Grab a piece of cake before you sit at the table and some coffee and water. And then let's have some time for conversation to discuss anything. Yep.
Did you want to tell them where DeAndre is?
Yes. You might know this. DeAndre is not here today. DeAndre is up in St. Louis because he's a really big deal. And there's a church called The Gathering in St. Louis, and he's a keynote speaker at this church. Ironically, it's called The Gathering. So he's at The Gathering, friends. He's just not at this gathering right now. So we'll call it safe is what we'll do right there. So he's up in St. Louis, so pray for him. He just flew this morning up there, and he'll be here back on Tuesday. So we miss him today, but this team works right now for this. So, hey, if you're able, please stand wherever you are. We're going to close with our benediction we say here at the Journey every single week. So if you're comfortable with your hands doing this kind of motion right here, or holding the hand of your neighbor next to you, that's wonderful. And we'll say this benediction together at this time. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. Thank you all so much for being here. Take care. We'll see you soon.